All right. What is good, everybody? I literally just watched James Gunn's Superman over on HBO Max, and we got to talk about it. As you guys can kind of tell, I'm a little tired. I have no desire, no strength to sit here and scream and shout to you about how much I despise the movie. I'm going to do something different and be a little more constructive rather than, just going off on a rant about the movie. Needless to say, I did not enjoy it. Despite it being titled Superman, I don't think I've really seen Superman in that movie at all. What I saw was an actor pretending to be something that he's not. What I saw was an unfocused writer who didn't know the character that he was writing. What I saw was an explicit miscast of characters who were all unfamiliar, from Jimmy Olsen to Perry White, who was a black man. And I tried really hard to look at the movie as for maybe what it was intended to be, and I don't think it really even did that. Because from what I'm aware of, James Gunn said that he took inspiration from the Silver Age of comics, which is why plot seems so unfocused. And now that I think about it, that might have been a excuse for poor quality writing, an unfocused script, plot, mismanaged events, timing. I don't even know really where to start with this film. Even just from the beginning, right? Everything that we've seen in the trailers was pretty much the beginning of the movie, right? He falls down, he's bleeding on the ground in snow. Crypto is very annoying, and Crypto is played by James Gunn's dog, or modeled after James Gunn's dog. Toward the end of the film, too, we see Supergirl, which I can tell you right now, that movie is going to be absolutely amazing because it'll be right up James Gunn's alley, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think James Gunn likes to write quality heroes, or rather, James Gunn cannot write superheroes. That's why when we see him and the stuff that he's done, the stuff that's successful is stuff that, we know him for. Cast of misfit characters, of unlikable people, and he can play around with different voices and jokes and whatever that, but it's boring, and it's literally in all his films. Like, there was that scene with Mr. Terrific where he's at the army base, and he's just doing the same thing that we've seen in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and that escape prison scene, which was absolutely amazing when you first see it, but seeing it again, though, was not that intriguing. The entire film itself, in terms of the look, was absolutely horrendous to look at. It was abysmal to my eyeballs, to say the least, right? Everything was so bright and super saturated. Costumes all look really tacky. It almost looked like a Super Bowl commercial, like throughout the entire film. And the film was 2 hours, and you really felt every inch of it, even though things are moving quite quickly. And I just can't imagine why a team of seemingly competent people will put something like this together and put it out, and with the title of Superman. And I have an enormous problem with the differentiation from the iconic symbol of Superman, the symbol of hope, right? Because it's not just an S. And for those who are like true fans of Superman, then you know that that symbol really means something, and it is the most iconic symbol on the planet next to the Christian cross, right? And so when you go to change that and make it look horrendous, hideous, I was gonna say abysmal, but to make it look so unsightly, and then put it on t-shirts, because I was just recently in Florida and I seen people wearing those shirts, and I was just so gobsmacked by the sheer ignorance those people wore on their chest. And after seeing that film, I really just have no words to say. Like, the movie was not good. It's not worth rewatching. It's not worth coming back to. What did that movie accomplish, right? If I were to sit in front of James Gunn, I would ask him, what was the point of this movie? Was it just to be something fun? Because I don't think the movie is meant to be taken seriously at all, because it wasn't a serious movie. And it's like James Gunn just took Superman and just did whatever he wanted, and it's like, it wasn't serious to him, so why should we care? Why, as a fan, and even if you're just a moviegoer, right, someone who just enjoys good movies, it doesn't even accomplish that. It's not a good movie. It's not a competent movie. Every character is used incorrectly and in the wrong scenario, particularly with the scene with Metamorpho, right? Or Element Man, depending on what you guys call him. He has a child in the film for some odd reason, I guess as a ploy to get him to cooperate. I don't think he has a child comically. For what I know about his origins, just kind of what I've seen him portrayed in, right? He's pretty much just a carefree, go-lucky kind of guy. And he's pretty hard to kind of catch, right? Because he's Element Man. The only thing that can really stop him is just freezing him, basically. Freezing the atoms would halt his transformations. And for some reason in the film, he was able to create kryptonite. I'm not sure he can do that, because kryptonite is a foreign, unearthly substance. Though it may be a mineral of sort, I imagine he would have to know what kryptonite is in order to create it, right? Because when he created the sun, he said, hydrogen and whatever those things that make up the sun, he was able to come up with that based on the fact that he knew what the sun was made out of. But kryptonite, though, he just made that. I don't think he can do that. Superman had to be the worst part of the film next to the Justice Gang. I thought Mr. Terrific if it would be a saving grace of the film, because I thought his costume did look like the best out of everyone that I saw, but I mean, it still is, but not by much. Hawkgirl had no reason to be in the film. Guy Gardner had no reason to be in the film. I noticed too that the scenes that we seen in the trailer, some of them were chopped out, like in a conversation with Lois in the interview, which I said while watching the film. I think this was a argument that James Gunn got into it with his wife, and he decided to just kind of write that into the script because that was the most unnatural disaster of a interview on camera. Besides that, if you guys ever seen that Netflix thing with Zendaya, I forget what the movie's called. Basically, it's just like one giant argument for like an hour and a half, whatever that movie is, which was also awful. I'm really angry that the Superman by James Gunn movie film was made, because we weren't watching a Superman film. We were watching, once again, like I said, a James Gunn documentary, or just a different aspect of James Gunn's life. James Gunn wrote himself and gave himself tights, underwear, and a cape, and still couldn't accomplish the basic premise of a superhero movie, let alone a Superman movie. And I just don't understand why that was so difficult. But I tell you this though, we seen Supergirl, right? She stumbles in this teenage drunk. I can tell you right now, like I said in the beginning of the video, that movie is going to be amazing. Not only is that movie going to be fantastic, right? Because we're getting Lobo, one of Superman's most iconic villains of all time, right? Because we couldn't get that for Superman. But James Gunn will be right in his wheelhouse of just disaster and extremely flawed characters. Which Kara, I mean, to be fair, there is an aggressive or more aggressive version of Supergirl, right? As far as like, her being a teenager and being taken under the wing of Clark Kent, to kind of learn how to be a superhero, right? And she's kind of like, I think it's in the New 52 line where she gets captured by Darkseid, right? You kind of see that. There's also a movie with that as well, if you guys want to go check that out. It's called Batman Superman Apocalypse. It's a great film. Go check it out. That's another thing too. The villains. I can name 10 iconic Superman villains off the top of my head, right? And James Gunn didn't use any one of them. I thought in particular that he could have really utilized Metallo, a villain that I am very fond of. I think it's really cool that Superman has a robot who is powered by kryptonite, who can really take him at full strength because he's draining his strength, right? And then you could have went with characters like Parasite, Bizarro, like not every Superman film needs to have Lex Luthor. And then I didn't like Lex Luthor either. He was also a really weak point for the story as well. I feel like when you write Lex Luthor, you can write all your deepest and darkest thoughts, because Lex Luthor is just that evil. And they didn't go too far enough with his character. Even though he shot a man, it was like that man didn't really matter. It would have been more impactful if it was Lois Lane who got captured, but it was just some random Indian guy off the street that Superman barely knew, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, the Superman James Gunn documentary was extremely disappointing, and I wish that James Gunn or somebody on that side would have said, hey, listen, James, we should take our time with it, really let this film kind of tell itself, but it was just a rush and a mess, and I can't even say Frankenstein of a film. It was just, everything was just mismatched. Plot points that were unexplained, not further considered, like the plot point of Superman's parents telling him to repopulate the planet with Kryptonians. That was such a bizarre move. And then too, his parents don't even look like his parents at all. Jor-El and Lara should have more of a mature look. I don't even know who those actors were. They just looked, again, a complete mismatch of actors acting rather than actually being the characters that they're trying to portray, and I just don't understand it. With that being said, guys, if you've seen the film, man, let me know what your thoughts were in the comments down below. In case I missed anything, I'll probably make another video, but like I said, I'm tired. I just watched the film, and like I said, I did not like it at all. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel for more. If you guys are unaware, I'm the creator of a series called Night of the Horizon. You guys go check it out over on MediBang.com. As always, it is linked in the description down below. I will see you in the next one. Peace.